Hey guys, tonight I want to go over a couple of things. I had a lot of requests from guys that's in the machine trade and tool and die. Said, did you really make some of your tools when you went into the trade? Yes, I did. Because at that time, it was about as cheap actually cheaper to make some of your own tools than it was to buy them. Of course, later on, it got to where, a lot of stuff was made offshore and it was a little bit less money. You could buy it about as cheap as you could make it, or even a little less sometimes. Quality might not have been there, but it was there. You had it right away rather than having to wait till you made it. Now, I've got an example. This is some of the pieces that I made when I was in tool and die. And some of them I used, of course, in my apprenticeship when I was doing, getting up to your journeyman's license on it. Now, some of the first things that I made was a vise. Now, I made every piece of this. And these are handy pieces right here. This is probably within 2 to 3 tenths meaning 10,000ths of an inch. So when you clamp it up to here and you set it up and grind and check it out, you're within 2 or 3 tenths of what it is of the whole piece here. I also made lots of just regular, you call them square blocks, you call them whatever, setup blocks. I mean, these are handy in that you make yourself a lot of attaching points here, of course, to attach your pieces to, and you want these blocks as square and as flat as possible. You get them down to 2 or 3 tenths and they're okay, but if you make them out of good steel, they'll stay stabilized. Now, in our tool and die class, we were given the choice. You could make your tools out of whatever steel you wanted to. At that time, there was a company around called Carpenter Steel. Well, they had some good steel. So most of my stuff I either made out of oil hardening or air hardening. A little bit harder to work with when you got down to finished grinding, but boys, it was worth it in the end. Now here's the little square that I made. Now this square, we sent it in our class, we sent these off to the Standard Bureau of Weights and Measures. Cost us, I forget what it was, to have it checked out, see what it was. This in here was in 10 millionths of an inch of being square, flat and square, which was pretty hard to do at the time with some of the antiquated machinery we had in our tool and die shop. But we got it done. Just regular parallel blocks, some of these. Another big square. But the key is you make it out of real good tool steel on it and they don't move around a lot. You gotta make it big enough where if you attach something to it, it doesn't draw it any. And the key, and you had to heat treat your own. After you got it heat treated, you had to draw it back, because if you don't, it gets too brittle and you can't work with it good. So depending on the steel, you draw it back to where it is. You want your hardness to be somewhere in I wanted mine to be about 58 to 62 Rockwell C scale, and that puts it's super hard. It's nearly file hard right there, but it's a good stuff to work with on it. And you make lots of this square here, it doesn't look like much. This thing's dead on. They had probably, and I made a lot of little specialty tools. Here's one I was making just some threaded up some rod and a machine that I had. Lock it down here, dive into it on the thing, piece in, done it on a high-speed lathe, lock this one down, in and out, in and out. And it's just little fixtures and stuff that you make. Even made myself a straight edge. So that's just an example of some of the stuff that I've made through the years. But the key is to pick you a good sound steel to start with, because you want it to where it doesn't move around later on. When I say move around, when it's subjected to, say, hot weather, cold weather, that it's not changing dimensions of whatever your piece is. You want it to where it's very stable. But that's some of the ones I wanted to go over that just a little bit on it. And there's lots of time into these on it, but the key was to have them things where they're square, flat and square. And when you get down to it, if you got them flat and square, they're a joy to work with. So that's some of the ones that I had.